Their intention was to subvert the S&P. This is sensible, isn't it? Their intention was to subvert the S&P. This is sensible, isn't it?
He's doing a pretty good job.
This is sensible, isn't it?
He's doing a pretty good job.
I'm actually not laughing.
He's had to mute himself because he can't stop laughing in between.
I'm actually not laughing.
This is sensible, isn't it?
He's doing a pretty good job.
It resonates greatly within me.
This is sensible, isn't it?
He's doing a pretty good job.
I'm actually not laughing.
He's had to mute himself because he can't stop laughing in between.
I'm actually not laughing. It resonates greatly within me.
This is sensible, isn't it?
He's doing a pretty good job.
I'm actually not laughing. It resonates greatly within me.
He's doing a pretty good job. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide and time zones are indeed a thing. Can I get an audio check in the chat, please? And a very warm welcome to my good friend Sansom Communion. What about you, chum?
Hello, mate. How are you doing? Only seems like a moment ago I was on the stream. Do you know that?
that could be because... Oh, Rob D. said we're muted.
Oh,
I think. Oh no, Rob D's taking the piss. Nice one.
No. Rob wouldn't take the piss. We're definitely muted, right? So
yeah,
while we're muted, might as well call him a Welsh twat. You know what I mean? Muted, you know.
Yeah, it's a duck. Sounds good. I'm a G, proper strong one. Yep, we're all good. I'm doing good, mate. Emma G took me out for dinner this evening.
Lucky bastard.
Oh, mate, it was fucking mint. There's a Cineplex place that has about 5 different restaurants around it, and they're all pretty good. I had half a rack of ribs, chicken strips, chunky chips, and corn on the cob. It was fucking mint. Oh,
I'm like Marvin now. Yeah, fire. Starving Agler.
Well, we might as well broach the elephant in the room. We seem to be missing a Scotsman.
We should get exiled on, that's what I say.
Yeah. Exiled the honorary Scotsman.
Yeah, the pretendy Scotsman. He hates it when I say that. He hates it when I call him a foreigner.
Well, to be fair, he's lived in Scotland quite a while.
Well, you know what I say, dogs and barns, mate, dogs and barns.
Yeah. So there is that. DJ seems to be on holiday. People, please do not panic. People in this community are allowed to escape for a bit of time off and whatnot. So don't worry, there's nothing wrong. He's just not here for tonight's stream. He'll be back next time. How much he's saying get the waffle around?
Yeah.
Dave's Waffle House.
Dave, he was on earlier. It was a good stream, that.
Yeah. Dave, I like Dave's streams. He comes on and talks to the chat for an hour and a half. I don't know how the fuck he does it because he's no planning or anything. He just wings it. But it is a good show. Normally about 8:30.
Welcome to my world, mate.
No, you do a bit of prep.
Well, I do the housekeeping. Basically, what I do is if Bonnie Lad, like you say, great treat again to have Bonnie Lad streaming tonight. He did a pop-up stream a week gone Friday, and that was a really good stream as well. But like I say, it's all work dependent because obviously, you know, if you're working, you can't stream. It's as simple as that. So I keep the chair warm. But basically what happens is last week I sort of jumped the gun a bit. I put the thumbnail up on Wednesday because I didn't know if I was going to be about on Thursday or Friday night. So I may not have got a chance. But usually you'll say, I won't be streaming this week. And basically I put the thumbnail, I just do news at 8 because it's the thumbnail I've always got. And then I literally go just go and bloody torpedo the BBC website for any new shit that catches my attention and just waffle on about that. That's so there I'm telling you all my trade secrets now.
Yeah, it's
apart from when DJ gives me shit out of the Scottish, whatever it is, the Scottish Herald or the Scottish Echo or whatever it's called, that literally is just adverts all the time. And he goes, I get ad blocker. No, I'm not getting ad blocker. No.
Yeah, right. People, I'm sticking names up on the screen here, your wee comments, because whenever I've got a guest on, I don't go through and say individually hello to everybody. If your name hasn't appeared on the screen yet, give me a shout and I will. There's Don Browning's in. See, I'm not fucking doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not starting. Yes. Oh, something I want to talk about. Before we get on the R stuff, relates to. Oh, we'll do the housekeeping first. A very warm welcome to everybody came from Bonnie Lad and Sansom. As I always say, if you watch my stuff on a Saturday night and you don't watch Bonnie, Sansom, or whatever it is that Connection's doing, you're missing out, because if you like my stuff, you're going to like their stuff. John Davison, John has been ill. Hopefully he's on the road to recovery because he did a stream on Friday night. And what he does during the week is now going to be dependent on how his health is. I hope that he makes a full and speedy recovery and gets back to Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. But we're all just going to need to bear with him. And as always, our thoughts are with him. And hopefully he does make a good recovery. Dave's Waffle House is all, as I already mentioned, 8:30 most evenings. And that's about it, I think. Anything else, Hanson, I've missed?
No, sorry, mate. I didn't send on the bloody show notes because I was going to be on tonight. But a couple of other ones is that our good friend Rags is on at 7 tomorrow with Matt the Angry Bootneck, and then at 8:30, the part-timer in chief, Scott's Armour. He might have a miscreant DJ along with our good friend No Chance in a chat with the lads at 8:30. So you've got a double header tomorrow. You've got Rags with Matt the Angry Bootneck and Jack as always. And then you've got a chat with the lads at R8 with Scott's Armour, Resisting the Lies, and Clive Maxwell, Ignatius Llewellyn Chance III. I'm
really glad to see the Sunday Night Scots one's back. I used to always listen to that while I was cleaning my kitchen.
He's only doing one a month though, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well,
bloody part-timer.
Yeah.
You know?
I could end up having to go to the gym or something like that. Because I keep threatening to I keep threatening to go to the gym, get into some exercise and stuff, but it hasn't happened in quite a while. But
the problem is last time I went to the gym, I was on I had to go on this machine, and I was sick as a parrot because after I'd taken the crisps and the chocolate out of it, I was really bad. But anyway, luckily there was a bookies next door, so I went in there and played on the bandit to get me 5 a day in. So I got a few cherries, a few apples, a banana. So yeah.
Well, does chocolate orange count as one of your favourite day?
It should do. I wonder if they do a chocolate orange, but it's not orange, it's mint. Do they do a mint orange? That sounds really nice.
They do. Sometimes they do like a limited edition minty one at Christmas.
Oh, I like mint.
Yeah, I like mint chocolate. I like orange chocolate. Circuit skiving.
Yeah, no, I like the mint. It's like that bloody film, was it Duck Soup? And he says, I'll make you the head of the mint. He goes, I no like of the mint. What other flavour you got? That's a great film. I'll tell you something now, mate. Honestly, a little bit of a tangent, but you must have, I'm assuming you've seen Duck Soup where Groucho Marx, the head of the state of Fredonia, and he declares war against the United States or something like that, and he's the head.
I seen half of that film in my
Well,
dad's house. My dad watches. There's a channel NVTV that it's like a Belfast channel, but it's also shared with some old film channel, and they put on all these old films. My dad calls it the Hoover. The vacuum, because you click it on for 2 minutes and you get sucked into this film, right? So
yeah.
I seen the first half of that film up in his house. They went to America on a day that America was closed for a fucking nuclear bomb shelter trial. And the works, yeah. And they ended up the took prisoners with like bow and arrow and everything. It was fucking nuts. Yeah, I might actually track that down and watch the other half of it.
I'll tell you something now, mate. Right, you'll probably be able to get it on YouTube or Odyssey, the full film.
Yeah,
but there's the bit what people don't realise, because they're all done up in slightly different garb and they've got different. Because obviously you've got Groucho with his brash sort of New York sort of accent or American accent. Chico has got the Italian accent, and Harpo is a mute. He can hear, but he's a mute. Well, and he's got this blonde curly hair. But what you don't realise is, if you were to put paint on a black mustache on all three of them, give them glasses and black up the hair, they all look identical. I don't think that they're triplets, but the family resemblance between the three of them is like I say, you can't tell when you're just watching the ordinary films because they look different. But there's a scene in Duck Soup, and it's all like comic timing and just their genius. There's a one where Harpo sort of pretends to be Groucho, so he puts the black mustache on, puts the glasses on, blacks his hair up, so he looks literally identical to Groucho, and he breaks into the royal palace, the Fredonia royal palace, because he's trying to find something out, and he makes a noise. He knocks something off a table and makes a noise, and Groucho comes down, and there's this sort of like this dividing wall. It's like a portal, but it's a dividing wall. And Groucho walks out at the same time as Chico, and he looks, and Chico looks. Harpo looks, and then he realizes he's been found. But then every movement that Groucho makes, Harpo makes, but in mirror fashion. So Groucho thinks he's looking into a mirror. But I mean, there are no special effects. There is no mirror or anything involved. It's just literally the timing of these two people who are absolutely genius. And it's probably, like I say, I don't like the mint. What other flavour you got? That's a classic in its own right. But that scene with Harpo and Groucho, where they're literally doing a mirror image of each other, absolute genius, comic genius in its finest. That brilliant.
Yeah, and takes a while to perfect.
Yeah.
Right. On to some serious subjects. Well, Sammy. The bit that you were talking about with Bonnie, where the guy shut the interview down.
Yeah.
Right, because he brought up the point in Birmingham, Alabama, a black person's got more chance of going to jail than Harvard. Right? I think the correct response to that is: do you think persecuting white people is going to stop the black people going to jail? Because those two things have no connection whatsoever. The Harvard and the jail.
No,
You know, in what world, what lunatic come up with the idea that the cure for racism is more racism?
Yeah.
You know, the cure for historical discrimination cannot be present day discrimination. The cure for any discrimination cannot be more discrimination. It doesn't make sense. There's no rhyme or reason or sense to it. It's like,
well, there isn't, and this is the other thing that I harken back to, which is when we existed on, you know, well, when I say we existed, we as in, you know, European stock, shall we say, we existed and we succeeded based on merit and ability and capability. Yeah, obviously there's another group out there where nepotism rules. Yeah, but obviously, you know, we basically did things off the sweat of our brows and the strength of your back, so to speak. So, you know, the reason why we were very successful is because of adversity. We had to survive in very harsh conditions, for, like, you know, further away from the equator, where conditions were a little bit milder, a little bit easier to get along with, shall we say. So that strivance has always been in us, and then, you know, we just went with that. But like I say, you know, if it was just merit based, where people were elevated based on capability and achievement, shall we say, then everything's fine. Now, the problem is they try to artificially inflate the numbers, you know, by trying to over promote one group in the hope that somehow, somewhere, it'll catch on, and, you know, they'll all of a sudden magically become as good as the position that they've been promoted to. But oftentimes that's not the case. And, you know, one point in fact is, in the Biden administration, I think she was in the position for about a year or so, an evil demon called Jen Psaki. Yeah,
Yep.
you know, Peppermint Patty, basically. Now, she was an evil demon, but she was competent. Yeah, she was capable and she was competent. So they replaced her with this, you know, was it Jean-Pierre, Corinne Jean-Pierre? And her qualifications for the job is that she's black and she's lesbian. Absolutely useless at the job. I mean, you know, even now she can't. They give her patty cake questions. So you've got your CNBCs and all this lot there, and they'll say they don't. I mean, they don't even ask the question anymore. They just say to her virtually. They just say to her, "Yeah, Jean Corinne, it's page 7, that answer there." So she goes to the folder and just reads out by rote what's in the folder. And it was very easy to pick out early on when, you know, questions sort of ad hoc and ad lib questions came out. She just couldn't cope at all. And so, you know, the money in the background was, yeah, don't be asking Corinne any sort of, unless it's on the script, don't be asking any of those questions, because we don't want to make her look bad. Because, I mean, you know, give her a due. Yes, she was an evil demon, you know, and complicit with the treachery of that particular administration in the States. But Jen Psaki was capable and competent. And if she got a question out of left field, she dealt with it. Once again, you know, there you go. Just goes to show you.
Yeah, but she did do a lot of circling back.
Well, she only circled back when it was, like I say, when it was proven that what had been said before. But I reckon that's the reason why she left, because she was being fed shit, and then she had to circle back. But it wasn't her doing; it was because somebody else had given up. And I reckon she said, sod this for a game of soldiers. You're all a bunch of incompetent twats. I'm going to make my millions on mainstream TV, being a news presenter on there or an article presenter on there. Oh, and by the way, Jean-Pierre, Corinne Jean-Pierre, it's over to you. Bring your folder.
It is absolutely nuts, and it's going to get worse in America because there's a lot of questions about to be coming out about Hunter and Joe Biden's brother and what exactly they did to get the $7 billion. That's a billion with a B. That family's been paid. That nobody has any idea why. Well, we all know why, but they don't even have a pretend job that we're doing for it.
Yeah,
it's all a bit weird. Nah. What else? Oh, it turns out it was a Pride Festival in Belfast today.
Was it? Well, it was in Liverpool as well, because Toffee was there. He's front and centre. So if you see a strapping young Scouse lad adorned with about 30,000 different rainbow-coloured dildos, it was Toffee. Make sure you let him know that next time you see him on a stream and everything. Yeah.
No, there was... You don't have such a thing as a parades commission in England, so I take it.
A what?
A parades commission.
No, right. I have no idea. Well, there'd be there's no parades commission if it's pushing a regime narrative. But if you want to do a parade about anti-lockdowns, probably need like all kinds of stuff.
Right. In Northern Ireland, if you want to have any form of a parade whatsoever, you have to apply to the Parades Commission and give them the details of your parade, tell them what organisations are going to be at it, and when it's going to start, when it's going to finish, and how many people you expect to be there. Right? And then the Parades Commission have a look at that and they make a decision on whether they're going to allow the whole parade as you've intended it, put restrictions in place, or just ban it outright. Okay, so that's how all of our parades are adjudicated, whether or not you get the parade. Now, I'm going to pull up the Belfast Pride thing. Let's see. So, why did my email come up there whenever I don't want to say? Right, StreamYard. I'm going to need to make this bigger. If you zoom this in. So, this is the thing. That's the parade number. Organisation Belfast Pride Festival. Starts at 1300, ends at 1600. The streets that you can hopefully see. That is fucking minuscule still. Is the route that's going to travel. And this bit here where it says number of bands. This is because most of our parades are band parades. So it's got a... But that's actually the number of organisations that are going to it. And there's 220 organisations going to be turning up at this Gay Pride event. Among them is Belfast Roller Derby, which I didn't even know existed. Now, strangely, this bit below that where it says bands, normally you get a list of every individual band, because I was going to go and see exactly what organisations were turning up at this. So that's why I looked it up. But it's not telling you exactly who all's turning up. Oh yes, and there was objections to it by United Christian Witness put in an objection where having a counter protest, and so did a private individual. And I read the document. I'm not going to put it up, so I don't really need to. But actually, yeah, I'm not going to bother. It just says that they've put in no restrictions on it whatsoever. So I don't know. I might try to find out if I can get a list of what all organisations turned up for it, because I think if you've got 220 organisations, most of them being large official things, shops, clubs, all that sort of stuff, trade unions, turning up for your event, I think that sort of proves that you don't actually need the event to be accepted, because it looks very much like the whole of society's accepting you, Sean.
No, go on, mate, carry on.
Yep, if they all turn up, it looks very much like you're accepted within society, so you don't really need the Pride to get yourself, the Pride event to get yourself accepted.
Yeah, but it's all once again, you know, are they doing what I would say is a sand people? Do you know what I mean by that? Are these nefarious groups doing the sand people? In other words, they shove in with other parades that are going on to hide their numbers, shall we say? You know, they always travel in single file to hide their numbers. You know, this is the kind of thing that used to go on where, you know, you get down and it'd be like, sort of, oh yeah, oh, he's the Chelsea pensioners. Oh, that's great stuff. Oh yeah, you know, Royal British Legion, great stuff. Oh look, here we go. It's the colliery band. It's great there. And here we go now. It's dildo strap-ons and what? Where'd that come from? Well, hold on a minute. Where did that come from? Oh, it's part of this, is it? Oh, right. You know what I mean? So they just like sort of tag on to disguise their numbers, and then at the end of the parade, you know, they'll interview certain people who might not have saw that part, and they'll say, "Oh, how was the parade? Oh, it's great." And then it'll be like, you know, Belfast warmly welcomes Pride Parade. You know, it's like, what Pride Parade? We were watching the miners and stuff, you know, the colliery bands and the the jazz bands, as it used to be called up here in the northeast. That's what they used to call them. It used to be what were called jazz bands. I don't know what you call them, but no, it's not a jazz band as in, you know, Bix Beiderbecke or anybody like that, or Ronnie Scott or anything like that. The jazz bands up here were like the little marching bands, you know, with twirling the buttons and shit.
We have very, very many marching flute bands, and there's generally one person at the front twirling a stick and throwing it up and catching it and stuff. Some of them actually have like a proper drum major, is it drum major? No, it's not a drum major. Stands at the front. Can't remember the proper term. This is bad. But we just call them marching bands. Oh. Welcome, sir.
Hello. 2 seconds, can't hear anything coming through my laptop.
Okay.
I'm not too sure why.
DJ, you need to get
because I've got the fucking class on. All right.
DJ, take the Sam Smith stickers off your speakers, mate.
Stop. Hello. Is it working now?
DJ.
There we go. Well, it was
DJ, did you just take the Sam Smith stickers off your speakers, mate? Yeah, so you can hear it.
It was Boyzone, actually. All right.
No matter what they tell you.
You fuckers. How's it going?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Good to see you. Good to see you. Nice.
I'm joined by my missus tonight, as you can.
Oh, hello, Mrs. DJ.
Hi there.
I thought I'd pop in for a bit and say hello. What like? You know, the usual jazz.
Well, thank you very much.
I just heard her in the background there, and that was a lovely voice, because when you said that, I was expecting, all right, mate, I've got myself my little bitch here, DJ. I'm going to make sure I ride him like a fucking racehorse tonight.
We have done a stream before together, me and her, on my channel about a month ago. So, like, don't act as if you're surprised to hear that I do have a girlfriend and not.
I didn't. No, I know you've definitely got a girlfriend.
Oh, but
I didn't see that stream. No, that's very good.
You missed out, mate. So
I often do.
I did. Toffee said you sound like Rob C. Nesbitt. I think he's got a fucking cheek, to be honest, for that Scouse accent, like. But I'm not here to throw shade, like.
You definitely did say that.
You did. I remember it.
I am a
How is it going, everybody? Hello to everybody in the chat.
It's going very well, and very pleased that you were able to join us. We did have quite a few people asking maybe we were short of Scotsman, and now we're not, so that's all good. We haven't really delved into too much topic wise, so you're all good.
All right.
Does anybody know what the B Corp manifesto and list is that October's talking about? October, I haven't seen it. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Have you heard of it?
To me.
No.
No.
Can't say I've ever heard of that, like. She's going to Google it. Yeah. It's good having a wee assistant there.
Yep. And I think Amaji, I did say that you could stay till after the stream if you wanted, and we'd have had a Mr. and Mrs. stream too, but you had to go home. And
but Derek Beatty wasn't here.
But he's written there in the comments, certified B corporations are leaders of the global movement for an inclusive, equitable, and regenerative economy. Sounds like the proverbial wishy-washy shite that you hear from the United Nations, to be honest.
Yeah, it has that stink about it.
Right.
The Boiling Earth United Nations.
I'll tell you what I am doing. I'm getting a wee screen grab of that, and so I can look into that. Because it's a sort of madness. We'll need to find out about it. So thanks, October. You've given me a bit of research, and I will dig into that. Other than that, right. Sansom, any topics from the links that you put in?
Well, I've dropped one in the private chat there. It is an Odyssey link, and it is Paul Joseph Watson, and it does fit into the continuing sort of storyline of farts in a bottle and dirty bathwater. But have you seen that? I thought this was a Mickey take, but this shit is real. I don't know. Maybe if you could, I don't know if because it's Odyssey, but it's Paul Joseph Watson, so I don't know if he's precious about his. It's absolutely crucial that you sign up to my Patreon account, all that bullshit. But if you could just give it like a couple of minutes, because it's the women in it. It's like, what on earth is going on here?
Right. I've got it up. I've got the link, right? And I'm now going to present it to the screen. Share screen. Yep, that's it there.
You probably saw this and were wondering, is it as bad as I think? Yes.
Marshmallow. Crunchy corn, yum! Kitty paw.
This is real.
Pumpkin, yum!
For me. Taco, for me.
Welcome to TikTok's latest wholesome contribution to society. It's literally called the NPC trend.
Grab, fire, meow. Hee ha, yes, you're gonna feel like a cowgirl. Balloon.
What the actual
So
fuck?
simps spend actual money to buy TikTok tokens in the form of cartoon stickers, ice cream cones, donuts, roses. Then NPC streamers react to receiving them with scripted.
What?
You ever seen? That's real. That shit's real. They they get TikTok credits or whatever it is for doing shit like that. I'm like, what on the blue Jesus?
Well, what they can also do is like a super chat, like a super sticker. They have jewels that you can give in TikTok where you buy the jewel and then the TikToker gets X amount of money for what you've decided to spend on it. So yeah, it's this is fucking madness.
Yeah, exactly. It's real. Yeah.
They live among us. We'll play a little bit more.
Hey, just a quick one. Did you ever see that Gorlock the Destroyer video? I'll try and dig it out if you've not seen it. Have you seen that one, DJ? Gorlock the Destroyer?
No.
There's this. I can't remember what the name of it. I'll find it and I'll get the link. But you've got to see that one.
Is this the girl on the panel show with, I think it's Fit and Fresh, and she reckons she's a 10?
Yeah, but the best of it is that somebody did a parody of it, because this woman, Gorlock the Destroyer, she's on there and she's going, and I see myself as a 10, and I would do this. This is me. This is me being. This is my sassy bitch look right now. Honestly, and somebody. I have to find it now. Somebody did a. I'll have to find it, mate, because you're gonna have to show this now. Let me get there. I've got it. I've got it somewhere. Where is it? Where's it gone?
I have to question where you're currently getting your content from now, Sansom. You seem to have changed.
No, YouTube. Oh,
yeah. I'll play a little bit more of this.
Because ice cream cones, donuts, roses, then NPC streamers react to receiving them with scripted catchphrases and repetitive sex robot style movements.
Ooh, gang, 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 gang. Gang, gang.
At the end of the stream, when the NPCs cash out, some of them are making over $7,000 a day. That's after TikTok takes its 70% cut. The vast majority, though, aren't really making anywhere near that and are just badly copying the trend. A whole generation with 1,000-yard stares, hopelessly addicted to a Chinese spy app, now literally behaving like robotic computer code to feed their narcissism-addled dopamine dependence. If you only knew how bad things really are.
Marshmallow. Crunchy corn, yum! Kitty paws. Pumpkin, yum!
Oh, you better stop a bit just in case old PJW gets precious on his content.
What the fuck?
Well, that's just a piss take of Blade Runner thing. Play that next link down. You've got to give that 5 seconds, mate. I was in tears when I saw that. Gorlock the Destroyer. Got to play that one. But somebody overdubbed it. Next link down.
Yeah.
This is class.
All right. Oh, hold on. I need to get this shared first. No, it's me just watching it. I need to actually put it up on the screen. Gorlock the Destroyer. That's it. Right. Here we go.
I'm 23. I go to UCSB and I also bartend.
That deserves another go.
Hi, I'm Kiko. I'm 23. I go to UCSB and I also bartend.
She's a 10, by the way, guys.
The disturbing thing is that voice actually looks like it would come out of that mouth.
I'm genuinely fucking at a loss for words as to what I I was observing there. Is that a man or a woman? First and foremost.
Unknown. We'll have to pull it in flower and look for
Oh,
the
the
wet
jury
spots.
out on that one, like.
It is 3 skinny women, but unfortunately, that big fat thing has had 2 of them.
Jesus Christ.
And the original text was her telling the panel that she's a 10 out of 10. And
fucking more stone than she should be, at least. What a fat cunt.
What the fuck? Yeah.
Am I allowed to say the C word in this stream? I don't know.
Yes, you are.
Too late now, anyway. But
yeah,
I'm Scottish to get away with these things. It's got to be done.
No,
Speaky said he would tap it, so there you go.
Just we're 41 minutes in. Just so everybody's clear, shit, piss, fuck, cunt, motherfucker, tits are all fine to say on this stream.
Based.
Yes, we don't have like a language problem. Cunt's a word I very rarely use, but if that's your normal vocabulary, you work away with.
Yeah. Can we have a C in the chat for Toffee, please? Because he's not here. Have a C in the chat for Toffee.
Oh, fuck. There's a funny bomb. Oh, fuck. Oh, this is mad. Yeah. That whenever I first seen that, I was like, yeah, the level of delusion is the problem. And then you've got all those other girls sitting around her who were actually slim, relatively attractive, but fuck me, that thing, it was that's enough. Are you wanting me to put up this other link that you just sent, Sansom?
No, mate, no, that's just another one of those little talking points when we get to it.
What the? Oh, yes, we will do this. I have seen the headlines about this story, but I haven't delved into it. And yes, that's a very good call. That's the one there. No, I do need to zoom this in a little bit. Right, can somebody in the chat tell me, is the writing big enough to see? You've got the picture of this one. Working woman cries why we fought for women to get jobs in the first place because she's so tired. It's no secret that many of us would dream of earning a full-time salary without having to complete a strenuous day of work for 8 hours, 5 days a week. Even if most of us were not required to work and did not make the money we do at our jobs, it would be nice to be able to kick our feet up and relax much more often than we can imagine in current times. Yep, this is true. One woman believes that this lifestyle was once right at her fingertips before it was stripped away by women's rights activists in the 1900s. She reminds us that there was once a time when women were not allowed to work outside their households. Bullshit! Bull fucking shit! Never ever happened. And admits that she is more suited for that life than the current one she is living in. I would like her source, or in what world women were not allowed to work outside the house, because I'm going to point towards linen mills. I'm going to point towards bakeries. I'm going to point towards laundries. I'm going to point towards all of those places where working class women used to work prior to the suffragettes arriving. What the suffragettes have done is they have compared the lives of working class females to that of upper class males who went to university, and said that women were forced to work, and while men went to university. Small minor problem. Have you seen the coal mine? Have you noticed that working class men, and back then, working class 12, 13, 14-year-olds were sent out to work in very physical, dangerous jobs, where women became more commonly librarians, school teachers, dressmakers, all that stuff. Women working has been a thing since work has been a thing. And there I am, my rant. I shall continue on. The woman cries as she asks why we fought so hard to earn the right for women to work in the first place. Like many of us who work full time, Tammy Coyce is feeling burnt out and exhausted. She took to TikTok to express her frustration and blames those who fought to allow women into the workforce. Whoever fought for women's jobs, why tearful, tells us on TikTok. Nah. The TikTok video's been viewed 6 million times. Is this link going to take me to the video? I'm going to try this. Oh, yep, here we go. We have the video.
It's not playing for me, mate.
Is it not?
No. You need to share that. Unfortunately, when it starts playing, it's in a different screen, so you have to
right.
Share that thing as well.
Right, hold on. Present, share screen. Right. Is that up now? It
Yes,
is.
mate.
Right. Back to that.
Whoever fought for women to get jobs. Why? Why did we do that? I am so tired. I want to just put my feet up. Like, I am, oh my God.
Yeah. What the actual fuck? She must have been working for like a whole week. I wonder how she'll be after about 30 years. Hello?
You know, the thing I will say is, like, they don't really realize how good they've got it in many respects, albeit, yeah, in the current climate, it's a lot harder to, like, stay at home and raise kids and whatnot. I get that, but, like, if she so choose to do so, she could meet a dude who earned a decent salary and then kick back on the couch, you know, when she's not watching her children or whatever at home. You know, so it's not like it's all doom and gloom for the life of a female if she so chooses. Whereas me and any other dude has got absolutely no choice whatsoever unless they fall seriously ill, you know, and become disabled, or they win the lottery. They have absolutely no choice but to work day in, day out, We all have days like that where we feel like we can't be fucked with work and whatnot, but sadly that's life, you know. that aspect of it does irritate me. But just like on a more sort of side note, I do feel though that just in general, things should be put into place to allow for what I just mentioned there about like women being able to stay at home if they so choose. I don't really believe that women shouldn't be working, they should be forced to stay at home and whatnot, but the option and the ability should be made a lot more feasible for them if they so choose. So yeah, a bit of a drama queen in all honesty. I have to be sort of careful how I go about wording things when I'm sat next to women, like, you know. But you know, I still stand by my viewpoints. It's not really changed, but you know.
Emma G makes a good point. If she was that tired, she wouldn't have the energy to make a TikTok about being tired.
Oh, that's just the modern era, isn't it? You know, people take to social media to whine about shit day in, day out. You know, the type of people that'll go on to Facebook and write that they're upset, and then somebody will go, "Oh, what's wrong?" And then they'll go, "Nothing." It's like, well, what the fuck did you say it then in the first place? You know?
I wonder how much she made on the TikTok.
Probably nothing. Well, actually, no, I tell a lie, because if that went viral, then yeah, she might have got some sweet fat peas.
Yeah. Fuck. I don't know. And I remember whenever I was probably 18, coming home from a shift on a building site, carrying bricks and mortar up and down ladders and all that sort of stuff. And I went upstairs, I had a wash, I'd sort of lay down on my bed waiting on dinner, and I fucking zonked out in minutes. And my mum came to wake me for my dinner, and I thought I had fucking slept all night and had to get up to go to work the next day. And I was like, oh no. But then it was whenever I realized, no, actually, you're going to go and have your dinner and have your evening and all, I was fine. And I didn't make any mad videos about it. To be fair, we didn't have the internet back then, so maybe that had something to do with it.
I do think it's like, no offense to any women in the chat, no offense to my missus, but I do think it's really girly for people to take to the social media to whine and moan about life. Just, you know, it's an effeminate trait. If in my personal opinion, I think only really gay guys, gimps, and women do that. I'm not saying you do that, by the way. I'm just saying a lot of women do that, and a lot of guys that are very questionably gay do shit like that, taking to social media, Twitter, Facebook, people back in the day to whine about how shit life is. It's like, just shut the fuck up. Like, if you're really that down in the dumps, speak to somebody, you know, like friends or family or whatever. Stop taking your nonsense to social media for the world to see, because that's where you get the accusations derived from. It's all about attention more than anything else, and it can backfire exponentially. You whine and moan with your petulance online, then it gains traction for all the wrong reasons, and then that's the irony of it all, because then you become legitimately upset and feel shit about life because you're getting a bombardment of abuse online, and deservedly so. Stop being
I wonder if that gets back to your boss. Does your boss say, I'm going to solve your problem for you, you don't need to work here anymore, fuck off? It's obviously too much for you.
Probably in this day and age, no. all these human rights and whatnot, no.
No, well, but here's the thing. If her job is making her that tired, her employer has got an absolute duty to protect her health and safety in work. That includes her physical and psychological well-being. And if her job is making her that tired and that depressed, it would be unethical for her employer to continue employing her and putting her through that. So, and they probably can't find a less demanding job for her, so she might have to leave.
Yeah, well, I would
Run,
say that's probably a tribunal waiting to happen. Like,
no, run that through corporate, and they'll do that. I know of plenty of people that have had workplace injuries where they've won their case that the company caused the workplace injury, and they had to leave, and they didn't win the tribunal because they said that the company only had a duty to employ them where they could find a job that the person was physically capable of. And by her own admittance, she's not physically capable of that job. She's not physically capable. She's not psychologically capable. That's a free one. And one of the downsides of being involved in health and safety is you get to learn about the legislation, the corporate law, and all that organise how it is. So how my health and safety representative role is supposed to go? Somebody where I work hurts themselves at work. Before they go to the manager and report it, they come to me, and I explain to them exactly how to report it in such a way that it's not their fault. Because what happens a lot of times is somebody hurts themselves, it's not their fault, but they do a shit job of explaining what happened, and they leave out bits and pieces whenever they go in and the next thing you know, they've got a verbal warning for carelessness or some shit like that. So I have to be jammed up on what you can say and what the outcome can be. And I don't think I think if they send her to the medical, if a place has a medical department, send her to the doctor, and the doctor says, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Can we find a job that's less taxing for her? No, we can't. She could have talked herself out of a job in that one video. Which would be interesting. Thoughts, Sansom, DJ?
Well, like I say, be careful what you ask for, because you might just get it. You know what I mean? And I don't say anything, because like I say, it's just more bloody overprivileged sort of young'uns that they've been so mollycoddled in this participation event society where, it doesn't matter if you've come 10th, you're still a winner as well. No, you're a fucking loser. You know what I mean? We should go back to these hard times, because I had a teacher, our games teacher, if you did out and anything there and you come second, first loser, that was what you, what you used to get. There was none of this sort of, oh, well done, you tried hard. It was like, yeah, you fucking first loser, you were rubbish. The W meant everything. We need to start going back to those times, particularly in the men folk, because who are these idiots who are doing this? Taco for me. Oh, popcorn for me. Yum. They're paying for this. I'd find out where they are and slap them and say, look, get a fucking life, youth. You know what I mean?
Well, there is a question about how much money they earn for it. If they are actually earning bank, at least they're not crying about their job being too difficult.
The thing is, we don't know what her job was. Was she a brain surgeon, particle physicist, something like that? Just wondering. No.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Do you want fries with that?
She looked more like somebody that worked in a coffee shop than a McDonald's. Oh, McDonald's pays like about £12 an hour. So I came past the McDonald's the other day, and they had a big sign up saying how much they paid for general staff and how much they paid the manager, and it was like £11-12 an hour. And the place we went out for lunch today, there was a Domino's, and they were saying that their delivery drivers are earning £12 an hour.
I'll tell you what, mate, I've just dropped a link in the chat there. The last one. That's a nice little segue, mate, for Belfast Telegraph.
Right.
The one that you dropped.
Oh, right,
in
yes.
the week.
I have seen that. I've seen that story as well. I put that one as yeah, McDonald's. Yep. Belfast Telegraph. Fuck off with your cookies. Don't want any of your cookies. Here we go. Share screen. Here we go. Only in Northern Ireland. Health chiefs move to reassure the public after STI sexually transmitted infection outbreak at McDonald's branch in Northern Ireland. The Public Health Agency has reassured McDonald's punters that there should be no worries about their McFlurries following a gonorrhea outbreak at a local branch. The PHA said the sexually transmitted infection was not spread through casual contact, such as sharing food and drinks. The Fillet-O-Fish fans are okay to engage in hugging, coughing, and sneezing, as gonorrhea is only transmitted via penetrative sex. A recent bombshell investigation into working conditions at McDonald's revealed that a branch of Northern Ireland has been at the centre of a gonorrhea outbreak due to rampant sexual activity between staff. So everybody in this McDonald's and a McDonald's seems to have been shagging each other. Now, this is where the whole thing takes a twist. The CEO for the fast food giant in the UK and Ireland was forced to apologise on the back of a BBC special investigation in which more than 100 current and former employees came forward to allege that they have been sexually harassed or assaulted, subjected to racism and bullying. I got two questions on this. The first one is McDonald's not a franchise? So the person that owns and employs the employees is not McDonald's, but the person who actually owns that franchise. And is this really, should they not have been looking down at whoever ran the individual branch? The second thing is more than 100. So that's 101 current and former employees. How many people does McDonald's employ in the UK and Ireland? Because I think this is going to come down to like 0.5% whenever you have that breakdown. Alistair Marklow said the company had clearly fallen short in some critical areas. One of the allegations reported by BBC News said that there was an outbreak of gonorrhea at a branch in Northern Ireland where sexual relationships between staff members were commonplace. Why is that being linked to the sexual harassment bit? Because it doesn't say that in this branch people were being harassed into having relationships. They were just horny bastards. The broadcaster began investigating working conditions at outlets in February after the chain signed a legally binding agreement with the Equality and Human Rights Commission, pledging to protect staff from harassment. So it seems that they have signed up to whatever program this is that the European Commission on Human Rights is running to prevent sexual harassment, and that has caused them to fine some. What a shock. And there's revealed allegations of a toxic culture, with some workers as young as 17 claiming they were almost routinely groped and harassed. Where this says claiming, that means that there hasn't been an investigation, there has been nobody found guilty. And further controversy for the company, the BBC, is to investigate allegations that an employee in Ireland was subject to taunts at work after she was raped at a house party. If somebody was raped at a house party and then they were then taunted about it at work, that's very wrong. That needs to stop. But at the minute, it's an allegation, so we don't know what exactly happened. Claire McGannigan waived her right to anonymity and spoke publicly this week after a former co-worker was convicted of the attack 10 years ago. Right, so this girl actually was raped, and there's a conviction. In a statement, Mr. McCrow said, "I commend Ciara's bravery in speaking out about her horrific experience. I am deeply appalled by these new allegations and commit to investigating them to the fullest extent through our investigation handling unit. Investigating what somebody said in a branch of McDonald's 10 years ago, that's not going to be too easy, chum." Referring back to the BBC reporting, he added, "I would like to reiterate my unreserved apology and empathy with all those affected in any way. I commend their bravery for coming forward." And he gives a statement. "We have clearly fallen short. Don't know what they've left out here. And I am determined to root out any behaviour that falls below the high standards of respect, safety and inclusion we demand of everyone at McDonald's, as detailed in our global brand standards." What the fuck? There's madness about there.
No, you were right there. What you said as well, though, about like these sort of nebulous terms, like define harassment. It reminds me of, I think it was the United Nations. Was it like last year or something? Maybe 2 years ago now, where they punted out some groundbreaking study that showed that apparently like 97% of women have been sexually harassed in some capacity. And this is a study that they refer to, politicians refer to, the media refer to, feminists and activists, all of them refer to this study constantly as if it's like gospel truth. But when you actually look at the study and you come to find how it was conducted in terms of the questions that were asked to women, and it's anything from like your proverbial wolf whistle and stuff of that nature, all the way down to being stared at, right? Yeah. All these things constitute harassment, but that's not elaborated on nor defined. All you hear is the nebulous term harassment, and immediately your brain subconsciously goes to the worst case scenario. But in many cases, if these events even occurred, they're not actually what would be deemed harassment. This is just the modern era yet again, where words are being redefined. Hyperbole springs to mind, you know.
They have stretched the definitions of everything. To the point where the terms become meaningless. Yeah. If somebody is constantly 2 minutes late for their shift, does say in here, try and get here on time. Does that become harassment if you do it regularly? Because I think it probably could.
Depend on the victim's mindset, I suppose. Victim, quote unquote.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
It's a matter of subjectivity, but that's the problem in many cases, because we live in a world now where, just depending on the individual, they can see a situation and feel like they've been harassed in some capacity, and that's enough for, you know, fucking punishment, or for it to make headlines and whatnot, or to add to statistics in a study. When the reality of the matter is, more often than not, if these events even occurred, they're not harassment. There's nothing at all about it that would be like literal harassment. I mean, how's being stared at and being made to feel uncomfortable sexual harassment? There's a difference between like some creepy bastard who will not leave a woman alone and like some guy who just like is oogling a woman on a bus because he finds it attractive. But yet, both are deemed harassment nowadays. 97% of women, for fuck's sake. That's what they're saying worldwide. 97% of women have been sexually harassed in some capacity. This is the sort of level of discourse we're dealing with now in the 21st century Britain, as well as further afield, where hyperbole has been taken as literal fact. You know,
I don't know, if you work at McDonald's and you're at the till, and there's 4 men in a queue waiting to go up and get served, and they're all looking in your direction, but the menu's literally right behind you. And then you go, yeah, all those customers are all staring at me. No, they're trying to fucking decide what they want. You know, the whole thing. And who this hurts most is actual victims of harassment. Because you get somebody who they've went into work every day and they've had for a year, they've had somebody making inappropriate comments to them constantly. And they then get to the point where they can take it no more and they go to the manager and they go, right here, blah, 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 I'm being harassed and this is what happened to give it. But somebody else then has something that really shouldn't be a problem. I don't know. Somebody else has something where somebody said something to them twice that might have been socially awkward but wasn't bad or anything. They go into the office and say, I'm being harassed and want the exact same treatment and result as the person that was genuinely there. It's fucking nuts. I'm just checking out what link that was. Oh. Right. Before we get that one, there's another one I want to get to. 1 second. No. Stop screen. Sorry, this is all a bit jittery, right? Here's one that just might have heard or not heard. MPs calling for perverse payment for wrongful imprisonment to be abolished. MPs and campaigners have slammed a perverse policy which could see an innocent man who spent 17 years behind bars after being wrongly convicted of rape, charged thousands of pounds for his time in jail. Andrew Mackleson today said that he was sickened by the idea of having to pay for his board and lodgings while in prison. The 57-year-old was found guilty of raping a woman in Salford in 2003, and the next year was jailed for life with a minimum term of 7 years. His conviction was quashed by senior judges at the Court of Appeal on Wednesday after DNA evidence linking another man to the crime came to light. But he has now revealed that he may have to pay for the cost of food and accommodation while he was behind bars. The money will be deducted from whatever compensation he receives for wrongful imprisonment. It's understood it's been a standard practice in miscarriage of justice cases since the Criminal Appeal Act of 1995 came into force. But Blackley and Burrington MP George Summer called on the government to scrap the practice. He said it's a perverse policy to enforce payment for accommodation when he was unjustly imprisoned. The government must reverse this decision. What the fuck's going on in this country? You get wrongly sent to jail. You have your conviction quashed because it wasn't fucking you, and then you get to pay for your food and lodgings. How? Why? Sansom, DJ, thoughts? Help.
Oh, just well, like I say, if somebody is wrongfully imprisoned, yeah, then they deserve compensation. You get into the vagaries of, you know, well, it's been overturned on a technicality type affair, but you know, we do know of people who have been sort of wrongfully imprisoned, and they, just because technology and modern detective methods have improved with the likes of sort of DNA testing, where if they haven't got an actual caught the person who caused the crime, they've been at least able to disprove that the person who was convicted couldn't have done it because, you know, the blood stains and the clothes or whatever, it wasn't their blood, or do you know what I mean? So
Yep.
in those instances where it's proven, you know, irrefutably that this person did not commit the crime and the state was at the wrong, then the state not only has a responsibility to that person to recompense them for their loss of earnings, their loss of privileges and freedoms, you know, plus a whacking great thing on top for getting it wrong in the first place. And the thing is, these people on here, well, put it this way, right? They think nothing of pissing away hundreds of thousands of pounds trying to keep a criminal in the country who's a foreign bloody murderer or rapist or whatever. They'll bend over backwards because it'll infringe his human rights. Well, his victims' human rights don't count then. Is that what you're saying? So they're, like I say, the government, this country, it's all our side forwards. You know, they'll piss money away on shit that nobody wants or asked for, and yet on things where you think there is a moral duty for the state to actually recompense somebody, they're trying to dip out of that one because, once again, you know, it's just all. What we should do is we should take the entirety of our legislation, throw it in the bin, and literally just, I tell you what, let's start from scratch. Let's take the 10 Commandments as the starting block, and we'll work back from there. Because I'm sorry, you know, I'm not going to be campaigning for Captain Hook, Abu Hamza, to stay here for years and years and years and years while his case is being done and trying to stop him from being deported, while his family's living in a 3-story mansion in Kensington costing the Exchequer $3,000 a month in rent alone. No, fuck that. Off you go, sunshine. Back to your, you know, whichever fucking goat herd you come from. That's where you're going. So, like I say, for me, it's but then you get the ones where it's almost like the Scottish verdict of not proven. It's like, yeah, we know you fucking did it, we just can't prove it. In that instance there, if we had like that third option, it'd be like, yeah, we know you did it, but, you know, then you get fuck all. You know, because, well, you know, hopefully they wouldn't. The problem is, in our country, we haven't got that third option. So, you know, and like I say, it's a double-edged sword, because the people who have been given a not proven verdict, if they are innocent, it's always a cloud over the head. But if they're guilty, they've gotten away with something. So, once again, like I say, the devil is in the detail as always. But if it's a case where somebody's been convicted, whether it be, you know, like rape, assault, you know, like, you know, actual bodily harm causing somebody to be in hospital, or murder, and like I say, you know, there are people who were locked up in the 70s who were released in the 90s because of the DNA testing technology said, yeah, they couldn't have been the person. So, that person's lost 10 years, probably 10 of their most productive years. If they had families, did their family break up? Did their marriage dissolve? Being deprived of access to their children growing up in their formative years. There has to be a cost to the state because the state made the mistake. So there you go.
DJ?
Hello.
What's the difference between not guilty and not proven in Scotland?
Do you know, it's funny, when I was muted there, I was having that very discussion with my missus because she could probably word it better than me. I'll let you. There you go. Repeat what you said to me there about not proving and whatnot. On you go.
Not guilty means that there's no evidence to prove you've done the crime, but we're not proven. You could have it hanging over your head, but just not enough evidence to substantiate it in a court of law. So if you were then to be charged later on for the same crime, it would come up that you'd previously been not proven to have committed the same crime. But in my opinion, it should remain, because there are instances where people have been guilty of maybe murder and stuff like that, but there just wasn't enough evidence. But it's a get-out clause for guilty people as well, when there's not enough evidence to charge them or for it to be proven to a jury of their peers. And it is what makes Scottish law completely different to English. And I'm not sure, I don't think it's an Irish thing either, but it is uniquely a Scottish thing, and they want to get rid of it for a reason.
But
I don't believe that getting rid of it's going to change that much in the grand scheme of things, but it should remain.
Aye, because they keep going on about, like, as they're pushing to get rid of this not proven, they keep saying in our parliament constantly, like, that if they get rid, like, there's so many rapists who get away with it because of this not proven verdict. And I just think that's absolute shite. If there's enough evidence, then you're going to get convicted. If anything, I mean, obviously everybody's got a different opinion, and it's a very much a grey area because, as was just previously alluded to there, some people are able to get away with a crime that they've committed due to there not being that much not that much evidence. But at the same time, there will be people who are genuinely innocent who are able to get off due to there being a not proven verdict. But I feel personally that removing that will then obviously make juries compelled to come to a verdict one way or the other. And that's despite the fact there might not necessarily be enough evidence to make a fucking judgment. So some people are going to get sent down who haven't actually committed the crime they've been accused of because the jury have got no choice but to pick guilty or not guilty. I know the argument could be thrown back at me like, oh, well, it's the same everywhere else. Well, like, how many people are in jail right now that, who haven't actually committed rape or whatever? Luke Mitchell, there's a question mark over that case. But, like, I don't know. I think it should remain in place. But the fact is that it's probably going to be removed due to feminist pressure. Hope that sort of clears up enough.
There's two things. There's 2 points I have on that. One is it is very rare anyone actually gets a jury of their peers. And the second one is our law not supposed to be based upon the concept of being innocent until proven guilty?
Yes, but in the cases of accusations of rape, you're guilty until you prove otherwise.
Oh, this is entirely true. And the other thing is, we have a problem with anonymity. Like, there was a guy, can't remember his name, was walking across a tube station in London around about 2012, 2013. And a woman said that he had bent down, put his hand up her skirt, penetrated her, took his hand out again, and the person who used their Oyster card after her in the station got arrested by the police, taken the charged. The case, which was totally false, provably false, the actual case in court took less than a half hour because the evidence was pure bullshit. Even though they had tried to modify it, they had used the closed circuit TV pictures, and they had, instead of having its natural order, they had slowed down the bit where the two people passed, but you can clearly see that he didn't touch her. He just happened to be, unfortunately, the person that was behind this woman on the day in question. He was named publicly as soon as it happened, lost his job, nearly lost his relationship, went through a year and a half of absolute shit before it got to court, and it fell out. And Vanessa Shroud, an actress who played a High Queen in the Game of Thrones, she was kept anonymous the whole fucking time, and you're still not allowed to say who it was that made the false accusation against him. And I currently give zero fucks about that law because I've just named her. But there you go. You know, it's mad. I think that in rape cases we should have moved to everybody's anonymous until the court case happens, and if you're found not guilty, then your name never comes out, because that follows you the rest of your life, whether you did it or not.
Oh, it absolutely does. I mean, and to be honest, there's many a case where people will be found not guilty, but yet they'll be like the sort of accusation still lingers.
OJ.
You know? Well, but just in general, like people, not all, but many people will still associate whomever in question with the previous accusation, and that's despite the fact they might have been found not guilty. You know, so you're in many respects still punished for the rest of your life, and people do not take kindly to rapists or accused rapists. So even if you're found not guilty, that's not enough for some people. So I think you're right. It should. Who?
Good Willie.
Good Willie. Oh yeah, what, the footballer?
Mm.
There's another case. There's many examples we could fucking go into, but yeah, you're right. It should not. The name shouldn't come out until it's been proven. To be honest.
Yeah. Sorry, I got that name wrong. Game of Thrones actress Syed Fares falsely accused a man of rape for walking past him. That's the bitch there. And apparently,
what part did she play in Game of Thrones? Was she a hand model or something? Because
no, she was in there for about 2 episodes. She was some form of a High Queen. Award-winning actress appeared in the 6th season of Game of Thrones as the woman who falsely accused Mark Pearson of rape after he walked past her. So, yeah, that's the bitch there.
Well,
there's all sorts of. She, like all people that make an accusation of rape, is legally entitled to anonymity. But as you can see, I've got that amount of fucks to give about that law. I don't think it should happen. There you are. Right. Do you just want to say any more about that, or is there something you just want to move on to?
Well, I was going to say, speaking about toxic femininity, the link at the bottom there is one that DJ dropped in the chat.
Yeah.
It's in the private chat. You might want to have a quick look at that, because
Yes.
it is in Northern Ireland, so it is.
Yes, I'm not exactly sure the state of our abortion law in Northern Ireland at the minute, because it has been messed about with and brought in and took out and whatnot. There we go. That's the one there, right. Northern Ireland is set to introduce censorship zones banning prayer and offers of help to pregnant women outside abortion clinics in September. I don't think they're actually clinics. I think what they are is information services. They don't actually deliver the abortions. I don't think we've got that far. According to the Department of Health, every health and social care trust is set to introduce zones criminalising anyone who hands out pro-life literature or speaks to anyone about abortion within 100 to 250 metre radius of an abortion clinic. In December, the UK Supreme Court rejected the Northern Ireland Attorney General's concerns that such zones were inconsistent with the right to peaceful protest, and the abortion services safe access zones came into effect earlier this year. Last month, a bill was submitted to the Scottish Parliament proposing to improve similar zones around hospitals and abortion centres in Scotland. During First Minister's questions, Hasma used strange fucking name, guaranteed his government's support for the bill. The first vote is expected in October. But the Christian Institute Scotland officer, Nigel Kenny, emphasised imposing buffer zones silences those who peacefully offer women compassionate alternatives to abortion. It denies women the opportunity to consider other responses to a crisis pregnancy that are less harmful to themselves and the baby. So, I got a question on all of this. See, in a world where every woman can walk into their doctors with or without their partner, typically without their partner, and get an implant that lasts for 5 years, get access to oral contraception, have a coil fitted, get a cap, all for free on the government. Why do we have these? Why do we have the, what was the term for that? Crisis pregnancies? How the fuck are they happening in the first place? I don't know. And there's plenty of times I've been walking through the city centre and I've seen pro-abortion people giving out leaflets. I don't know. You have to be allowed to state your opinion, so long as you're doing it peacefully. Nobody's advocating for people being physical or doing any damage or attacking any of these people for going into the clinic. Nobody's advocating for that. What they are saying is, yeah, you're going to possibly walk past people that are handing out leaflets, have a Bible with them, saying prayers, and offering help, and an alternative to the abortion providers' facilities. I don't know why that's a problem. I've just seen sanctions come up. They loaded a woman who murdered her 24-week-old child. She done serve 2 weeks. That's because at that age, that's not classed as a murder. That's classed as infanticide. It's a totally different rule book. Should probably get some form of psychological help, and that would be about the height of it. So there you go.
Anyway, halfway through the stream, and it's usually around about this time in your streams, we have a bit of sport. So I've dropped a link in there for you, mate. We'll have a bit of sport, eh?
Yes, we'll get the sport on. Hold on,
it's a cracker as well. It's an absolute cracker.
Yes, I remember that. Sorry, I need to close some of my tabs up here because
Just smoke them. Don't close them. Just smoke the tabs if you've got them, mate.
Unfortunately, these ones are clogging up the computer. Right. Yep. That will go. Here we go. Yes, this is a good sport. Here we go. World Eskimo Indian Olympics. How ripped ears are preserving a rare culture in Alaska. And here we have a picture of Matthew Chadwick takes part in the 2-footed high kick where competitors aim for the suspended target while attempting to hold their balance. Hundreds of years ago, the native people of Alaska's coastal whaling settlements had a unique way of communicating when a hunt had been successful. The vast icy plains had few hills, so it was possible to see for miles on a clear day. Once there had been a successful catch, a messenger would run inland towards their village, and when within sight, would jump and kick both feet in the air. The village then knew it was time to jump into action and help with the catch. But kicks are not always used to convey good news. One could be used to sound the alarm if someone was injured. The passage of time and technological advances have meant that these forms of long-distance communication eventually disappeared. But once a year, the tradition is revived as the community comes together. On the 12th of July 2023, thousands will flock to watch the 1- and 2-footed high kicks alongside events such as the ear pull, the seal hoop, and Indian stick pull in the World Eskimo Indian Olympics in Fairbanks, Alaska. Oh, there's an ear pull. A nice picture of people pulling with their ears. The ear pull is one of the most recognizable events in World Eskimo Olympics. The Olympics was born in 1961. It's a long stand. No, it's actually quite recent. After 2 non-native airline pilots, Bill English and Tom Richards Sr., encountered the traditional games while flying over Alaska's outlying communities. By then, the dominant American culture had started encroaching into these communities, threatening to homogenize local customs out of existence. These gentlemen, who were not native, could see where some of these traditions could be endangered, and the World Eskimo Indian Olympics board chairperson Gina Killock tells the BBC. Native athletes and dancers from a handful of villages were brought into Fairbanks, and the first Olympics took place on the banks of the Channel River. Since then, it has grown, with as many as 3,000 spectators expected to flock to the Big Dipper Ice Arena this year to watch Alaska's finest native athletes compete. The games all have origins in native villages and go beyond living memory, explains Killock, who is of Killawakan, Dana, and Creole descent. You tell stories to pass down the history of your people, and you teach lessons. You pass down the games to build and hone the skills you need to live a subsistence lifestyle, to live in a very harsh environment, and to be able to survive. Their survival skills, she says. The objective of the ear pull, essentially a tug of war with your ears, is to pull the sinew off your opponent's ear and force them to submit. It is a game of stamina. The winner illustrating they can withstand pain, a trait needed to survive in harsh realities of rural Alaska. So they rip off part of the ear. What the? How do you get better at that? Because I reckon after you lose your first match, you no longer have an ear to fucking pull with. The 4-man carry tests. The 4-man carry tests how far a single competitor can carry 4 volunteers draped across them. It harks back to a time when hunters had to lug their hefty catches long distances in freezing temperatures. The Indian stick pull is a test of grip. The competitors attempt to wrench a short greased stick from the rival. It replicates holding on to a freshly hooked fish by the tail. The Eskimo stick pull, meanwhile, involves... Oh, right, that's the Indian stick pull. The Eskimo stick pull involves a longer stick and relies more on strength. The same strength needed to haul seals from a hole in the ice. Killock first took part in the Olympics as an impromptu competitor in the Indian stick pull in the early 1980s. She was soon winning medals in the Alaskan high kick, which requires athletes to successfully kick a suspended target while maintaining balance. She eventually moved into coaching before becoming a member of the World Eskimo Indian Olympics Board. These unique sports are growing in popularity despite the lure of ice hockey and baseball for young people in Alaska, Killock says. The games have also played a powerful role in both preserving native Alaskan culture, helping young people reconnect with their roots, and helping those recovering from substance abuse. Historically, Native Alaskans have some of the highest rates of drug and alcohol abuse in the country. Some of the people we work with were at risk or recovering from battling drugs and alcohol. Young people, high school age people, we would actively recruit them to come and learn the games, Killick says. My fondest memories would be when we'd get someone who was at risk and barely spoke to you, who didn't really want to be there with an attitude. Then they would discover there was something in the culture that they were good at and they could practice and could give them a lot of pride in themselves and their culture. I don't think ripping people's ears off is the way to go forward. Matthew Killick, 16, whose family are from UKIP and Kilip culture, will be taking part in a wide range of events across the week. Some of his earliest memories are with his father playing native sports in the family home. But as he got older, he focused more on basketball and wrestling. In recent years, he has increasingly been drawn back to the traditional games like the seal hop, partly down to the unique sense of camaraderie inherent in native Alaskan games. And there we've got a picture of somebody that looks like a one-footed kick, kicking that ball thing. Yeah, the high kick. There are no age categories, although athletes must be at least 12 years old, which means grandchildren have been known to compete alongside their grandparents. It's common for the more experienced athletes to give technical advice to the younger rivals mid-competition. If we're doing the Alaskan high kick, say it's me and one person left, and he's on his third attempt, I would go out there and help him as much as I could, so we can kick it together. It's not so much competitive; it's competing against yourself rather than others. Kajak says. Kajak, who now works in the Native Alaskan Heritage Centre in Anchorage, says that his culture has become increasingly important to him as he's aged. The games are a way of expressing that pride. Miley Kirk, a 15-year-old New York girl, will be taking part in several categories, including the Inuit stick pull, Alaskan high kick, and kneel jump. Kirk says traveling across Alaska to compete has led her to deepening connections with her communities. I have family around Alaska, but I wouldn't have been able to know as many people if it wasn't for these sports, she says. Kirk says she imagines her ancestors playing the same games hundreds of years ago, watched by village elders assessing who to include in their next hunting party. Each event has its own story and background and history. I've learned a lot more about my culture from the origins and background of games. Each event has a specific meaning behind it. For example, the scissor board jump was to tell if you could jump across the ice caps. For these games, we played to help keep my ancestors in shape, she said. For Killick, this is the preservation of Alaskan sport is very important. I think any culture across the world, if you touch base with the origins of your people to find something that speaks to you personally, that could be artistically, physically, and academically. It can enrich your life to the point where you change your life. For Indigenous people whose culture can be endangered, finding something that connects you closely with it, it's been there for thousands of years, that you can personally be involved with, is an amazing gift. Right. I think there's a lot of good stuff in this. And I like traditional cultures. I like Eskimos doing Eskimo things. All right, you have a competition. You so you can jump the house in a certain way, pull a stick, right? That off. I'm fine. I'm good with that. I think pretending that an Olympic, your version of the Olympics that goes back to 1960s, pretending that's thousands of years old and that you're doing it the same way that your ancestors would, I think that's possibly a bit wrong. But I do like the idea of it, with the exception of the bit where you're ripping part of someone's ear off. That's not good in my book. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, I like the tradition of it, and put it this way, you rock up at a rugby league match any time of the week. You could go at any time then as well. So, they go in it knowingly, don't they? So, I like to say, I had a little bit of a chuckle at some of the things that they were talking about, but that's obviously because and then it explains it further down. Some of the activity, like I say, I don't know what the ear pulling activity is all about, but things like the two-legged jump, about maintaining balance, because when you think about the little sort of sealskin canoes that they had, they're not very stable. I mean, a big lummox like me, I couldn't get in one without bloody going arse over tit or sinking it. So you do need a keen sense of balance in order to use one of those, especially when, the thing that you're trying to capture and lug into, or at least get to dry land where you can pull it out, could effectively, sink the boat. So you need to have that about you. And, all the other things like, being able to span a crevice and all this malarkey, and have your wits about you. Because like I say, if you're in an area where there are fissures in the surface of the ice, one false move and you're gone. Because like I say, when it harkened back to those days, chances are if you fell down one of them, if you smashed your leg, you were done for. You probably not going to survive that, especially in those harsh conditions. So yeah, I'm of the same thing. And like I say, if you've got two fellas, no different with boxing, got two fellas prepared to put it on the line, they could lose half an ear. That's their choice, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Well, my issue is the winners apart. I do get your point. If you're rugby, if you're in the front row, you're the prop or the hooker, your ears do get mangled, right? But that's it. And we have got to the point where the head thing that protects your ears is now skull cap is pretty much mandatory. But that's a side effect of the game. It's not the intention. The ear pulling, the intention is to rip off some of the sinew and the point of it is it means that you can withstand pain. That's it. That's the whole. I think possibly there's a better way of doing that.
Well, what would be the excuse then for the noble art of self-defense, or otherwise known as boxing?
Well,
I mean, if it was the noble art of self-defense, then both of the people in the ring would just stand to one side and let the clock tick down without actually doing anything in there.
Yeah, but
the fact that pugilism is involved, you know, I don't see the difference. I don't see the difference between somebody getting twatted on the nose and somebody pulling their ear. It's the risk you take.
Yeah, I do take your point. I think that there is a use to boxing because, like you say, is right. Why don't you just stand to the side? But you're going to come up against people in life that potentially you have the only option you have to stop them taking your stuff is to get a bit swingy with your fists. And if you've learned how to do that effectively, it does definitely help.
Well, the thing is, with this particular sport, the Eskimos do, the old ear pulling thing, people might offer themselves up, get their ear taken off because they've got a nagging wife. There you go.
It's only the sinew and the lobe. It's not actually the whole ear, so they can still hear.
Yeah, but they can pretend, can't they? I didn't hear what he said, love. Sorry.
Yeah, there is that.
What was that about taking the whale carcass out in the bin? Sorry, love, I didn't catch that. What did you say? I'm sorry, you caught me on my deaf side.
DJ, thoughts?
I don't really know what to say to that, to be honest. Like, I mean, live and let live, I guess. You know, I don't know what you want me to say to that, to be honest. It's one of the most random things I've seen in a while. In all honesty, the ear pulling thing, especially.
Anyway,
yeah.
Well, moving swiftly on. I've just dropped a story in there at the bottom, which is probably the most.
I'm just going to be brutally honest with you, Sid. Like, see, when you take full fucking control of a stream, we end up with the most random of shit. Like, so this better be good. Like,
I haven't taken control.
Oh,
I'm taking them out.
Private chat begs to differ. Like, I'm just saying. Yeah, we did the last fucking story. Jesus Christ!
Right.
No
after this one, we're going to get DJ to pull out a story. Probably something Scottish, but no, we'll see what this is.
Well, this is one of the most persecuted group on the planet that we need to talk about. Here we go.
Right, 1 second. I need to go back to the comments so we can see that. SAG.
Screen Actors Guild.
The Screen Actors Guild strike.
Yeah.
Avatar and Gladiator sequels look set to be hit by actors' walkout. Oh, and there's a bit of Avatar.
Yeah.
Major films in production including Avatar and Gladiator sequels are looking likely to be affected by Hollywood actors taking strike action. Promotional events such as red carpet premieres will also be affected, such as Disney film Haunted Mansion released later this month. Actors, you're going to save millions of brain cells because you're getting people to not watch Avatar and Disney stuff. That's going to be a net positive. It's the first good thing these actors and screenwriters have done in a very fucking long time.
Yes. And even better. This is just like a little bit of a chuck it in, because all of the so-called, here we go. Just move down to that picture there. All of the privileged ones. Here we go. Yeah.
Yep.
Squealing. Oh, you know, talking about the Oppenheimer thing, because they've got old Cillian Murphy there to play Robert Oppenheimer, you know, because obviously Cillian, he passes for a 4B. But the thing is, all of the if you go to that next link now, because this is just a little interlude. If you go to the next link, that next last link I've dropped in, this is why they're really bricking themselves. This is the real reason behind it. Here we go. Unlucky. It's okay if they want to replace, some telephone operator in Mumbai with a bit of AI, but you couldn't possibly replace me. And this is why they're all bricking it, and all and like I say, people have got all these AI things to say, write me a script about some shit fucking plot sort of thing. And the scripts that are coming out of ChatGPT are 10 times better than the woke bullshit that's coming out of Hollywood. So yeah, be afraid. Be very afraid.
The Black Mirror plot about AI that worries actors.
Yeah.
Hollywood actors are striking for the first time in 43 years, bringing the American movie and television business to a halt, partly over fears about the impact of artificial intelligence. The Screen Actors Guild Actors Union failed to reach an agreement in the US for better protection against AI for its members, and warned that the artificial intelligence poses an existential threat to creative professionals. It is also prepared to dig in over the issue. Duncan Carberry Ireland, the chief negotiator for the union, criticised producers for the proposals over AI so far. He said studios had asked for the ability to scan the faces of background artists for the payment of one day's work, and then be able to own and use their likeness for the rest of eternity in any project they want with no consent and no compensation. Well, that's bullshit there. That shouldn't happen. If that sounds like a plot of an episode of Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror, that's because it is. US media have been quick to point out that the recent Series 6 episode, Jonah's Awful, sees Hollywood star Simon Hank grapple with the discovery that her AI likeness can be used by a production company without her knowledge. Right. The actors need to realize that Black Mirror is not real life. It ain't happening. What I'm finding quite interesting is the absence of the real reason for the strike, which is, one second, I get a drink. The Oscars have changed their rules, and they have decided that all films that are going to be Oscar nominated must have a certain amount of diversity, ethnicity, and inclusion, all that. So they must have a certain amount of black people, a certain amount of Chinese people, a certain amount of gay people, all that sort of stuff. Now, how the film industry have traditionally got over this is by having extras. So they would get a film, you give people bit parts, blah, 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 and that covers your quota. But the Oscars said, no, you're not doing that anymore. You need to have those people in the writing. You need to have those people behind the cameras. You need to have them as showrunners. You need to have them as producers. You need to have all this stuff. And it has vastly increased because they need to employ all these people. They are trying to work with the same budget. And what do you know? If you get 20% more employees that weren't actually necessary to fill the quota, everybody gets 20% less money. And that's what the strike's about. But we're not supposed to talk about that. Gentlemen?
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that, you've on the one hand they're striking and on the other they're chubbing about, the very time when you shouldn't be striking. Oh, here's AI to come to replace you, so unlucky. you've picked the absolute worst time to go on a strike, because all of the bosses are saying, well, hours about you get back to work, or we replace you with AI. Okay, I'm going to do that now. Yeah. I did drop one in there that was one that DJ dropped in the chat there to drift away from spontaneity. But it wasn't, like I say,
Yes. Fucking Guardian bastards. Right.
But most of these, the story in question is about the all of the fires, specifically the ones in Rhodes, and then obviously there's been loads in America that's been talked about, and then in Canada. But there's a one that showed a satellite image of these fires that was, I think it was in Canada. It was certainly somewhere in North America, and it was in a straight line. It just doesn't happen. Just doesn't happen in the wild.
No, they all started mysteriously all along that straight line.
Yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah, miles apart. Yeah,
yeah.
Like, this doesn't happen.
But we had this a couple of years ago in Australia, where we'll see how far the Guardian goes with this. Most fires in Greece were started by human hand, government says. Official blames arsonists for the majority of the 667 blazes that have been spread in the extreme weather. Here we'll have a picture of the fires. Most of the 667 fires that have erupted across Greece in recent weeks were started by human hand, the country's senior climate crisis official has said. As the Mediterranean country emerges from an unprecedented 15-day... One second. Right. Let's be back. Blah, blah, blah. As a Mediterranean country...
Why didn't they go the whole hog and reduce that number by 1, just to give it the full sort of what's it, stonemason effect?
Well, interestingly, that's the amount of the Belfast City Council during the COVID lockdowns decided to give their employees a bonus payment for a hardship payment, and one was of £666 and one was a different number, and I was wondering why they had to go with a devil number. But anyway, as the Mediterranean country emerges from an unprecedented 15-day period of heat wave-induced infernos, the scale of the destruction is finally being laid bare. While weather conditions have been different from any other year, with experts calling the first 3 weeks of July the hottest on record, did they change how they measure the temperature? Yes, they did. Most of the fires could have been prevented, the government claimed on Friday. Phasasis Kilias, the Greek Minister of Climate Crisis and Civil Protection, told reporters, during this time, 667 fires erupted. That is more than 60 fires a day, almost all over the country. Unfortunately, the majority were ignited by human hand, either by criminal negligence or intent. Kilias said that in certain places, blazes had broken out at numerous points in close proximity to at the same time, suggesting the involvement of arsonists' intent in spreading the fires further. He added, the difference with other years when the weather conditions, climate change, which yielded a historic and unprecedented heat wave, is here. There were very few days where the extreme weather was not combined with strong winds. Meteorologists have never before registered such record-breaking temperatures over such a prolonged period of time in Greece. With the expectation of the islands in the Aegean and Ionian Seas, 15-year highs were reached. If it's a 15-year high, how have they never had those temperatures before? Those two things don't jive. This week, the World Weather Organization and Europe's Copernicus Climate Change Service described July as the hottest month in recorded history. The UN also said it was clear that no month had ever been so hot. Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, called for bold and immediate measures to cut planet heating emissions, adding, "The evidence is everywhere. Humanity has unleashed destruction. This must not inspire despair, but action." The fires have killed 3 people and injured 74 others. On Wednesday, the Greek Armed Forces announced 3 days of mourning after 2 Air Force pilots were killed as they tried to extinguish flames in their waterbombing plane before it crashed over the Isle of Eva. Nearly 20,000 people, primarily tourists, were forced to flee hotels on roads. The island was worst affected by the fires in a single day. The operation was described as the biggest evacuation ever carried out in Greece. A state of emergency was declared in some areas of the popular tourist destination earlier this week. While flames are still raging on roads, the island of Corfu, Eva, Friday was the first day that the emergency services were not on a state of high alert, with the fire department saying that the situation had finally begun to improve. Officials said a huge blaze that detonated an ammunition storage facility on Thursday north of a military airbase in Nia Arbochis, 12 miles outside the city of Falls, had been brought under control. Professor Chos Servos, Greece's leading expert on atmospheric physics, warned that the situation would worsen every year. He said, "All strategies will have to be reviewed because of the climate crisis." Cephas has long maintained the annual mean temperatures across the Mediterranean will increase by up to 2 degrees Celsius over the next 30 years. I don't think that's a big change. He predicted that the climate crisis could cost Greece as much as $700 billion in terms of preventative measures and adjusting to the new reality, and emphasized the importance to the country of rejuvenating devastated forest ecosystems. Sophos added, "The mild winter has resulted in us losing half. It should say, in us losing half of the water this year, reducing soil moisture, and this creates a situation that favours the spread of forest fires. Forest ecosystems in Greece are among the most sensitive in the world. The forest ecosystem is essential. If we protect it, there is hope we can regenerate." Oh, apparently I've read 10 articles from The Guardian this year. Good. I've probably used them in streams.
10 more than me.
Well,
I would before we go any further, I would just like to get a quote from DJ with regards to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Your opinion, DJ?
Well, you just want me to repeat what I said last time? With pleasure. It's a fat Portuguese cunt.
Sounds about right.
Yes.
No.
Did you see his? I posted it to YouTube, but I mean, it's all over Telegram and Twitter, where he was saying that we've surpassed the climate crisis and now it's like global boiling.
Yeah, global warming is now global boiling.
It's ridiculous. But he said that with a straight face, with his quadruple chin, fucking jingling blowing, you know what I mean? Fat, sweaty fucking socialist dick sitting there talking absolute nonsense, like making out that all the evidence is clear, disregarding the fact that El Nino is a legitimate, natural world phenomenon that has the ability to effectively exacerbate like weather-related issues, can create heat waves, can fluctuate temperatures, etc., can create storms or accelerate storm paces, etc. All the things that are occurring right now, the ones that are actually happening, as opposed to fires everywhere being natural. This is all due to El Nino. But this fat fuck sits there and talks about, oh, this is proof of global boiling. It's just never ending. The level that these people fucking continuously stoop to, and it really should be enough to sort of wake people up to the fact that they're being fucked around with when they have to lie and manipulate and deceive and bend the rules to suit their own narrative, right? I mean, it could have gone without saying that all over Greece, these fires were not like the result of man-made climate change, right? Despite that being what was inferred, it was pretty obvious that there was something afoot here, the same way that there was something questionable with Canada a few months ago, if people remember, right? It was the same in fucking Scotland, the massive wildfire in Cannock, right, up near where I live, and all the Greens, all the SNP banging on about how this is climate change. Then it transpired it was a fucking what was it? A barbecue, right? But they don't tell you that part. And then they tried to sort of have a cop out on the ready saying that, oh, but the conditions are rife. It's fucking summer. Any summer in Greece, you could go about and decide to burn things. And I can guarantee you the outcome would have been the exact same. No, they didn't do that. They chose to do it this year. This year, when they're trying to push a narrative that would suggest that there's a climate crisis. It's a fucking joke. And
have you noticed
Antonio Guterres, the overweight, rotund cunt?
Have you noticed what was missing from that whole article? The one thing that we heard absolutely nothing about. Who it was that started all those man-made fires and their motivation. And I put it to you that as happened in Australia, whenever they found people and brought them to court and started to look into them, they found out that they were climate activists and they thought that the fires would force government change. And this has been repeated in many countries. And these fuckers actually start fires and then point to the fire and say you need to do something about this. What about if you stop lighting the fucking fires in the first place? Would that help?
Exactly. And I mean, as well as that, the conditions that they speak of, they insist that it's always climate change, right? But in Australia, right, they've got all these regulations in place now where effectively controlled burning is not allowed, right?
Oh.
And in a lesser scale, they've even got things such as that in place here in Scotland, right? And they've got a bill coming out soon, which is going to make it even more difficult to burn peatland, etc., right? But all in the name of biodiversity protection, right? So they've got all these rules and regulations which prevents or prohibits, or at the very bare minimum, makes it more difficult to have controlled burnings. They themselves have created some of these conditions that they speak of, right? But on top of that, to your point, you've got these hysterical wankers, irrespective of whether or not they've been paid. I don't even think some of them need to be paid to do this because they're so hell-bent on trying to prove to the world there's a climate crisis that they will go out of their way to burn shit and then point to the burnings that they've created and say, oh, this is climate change. And of course, they get away with it. They're allowed to do this because of fat Portuguese men like, Mr. Antonio Guterres, as well as every other politician on board with this, as well as the media, etc., who will jump on it instantly and point to these fires immediately and say that this is climate change, right? And then when it comes out that it's arson, whether or not it's proved or suspected, that doesn't matter because the narrative has been set in stone, and that's why we have the global boiling narrative now. Like, fuck off. Global boiling. And of course, I haven't had a chance to really look into it, but as we spoke about in the last stream with Toffee censorship, like they're apparently now, as I say, maybe you will know more on this, or maybe somebody in the chat will know a bit more on this. Apparently, they've started changing the way that they take temperatures.
Taken from tarmac. Or
Yeah.
No, that was when they did the British one, but apparently they don't take surface
No,
level
they've
temperature anymore.
without
Earth temperatures.
without telling anybody, they swap from taking air temperatures, which has to be 3 meters above the ground, which is where a normal temperature sensor would be placed. So the mean temperature, and now they're taking ground temperatures. So if that reading at ground level is near tarmac, which absorbs the sunlight, it's going to be significantly hotter there than at the 3 meter high point. And I mentioned this earlier on Bonnie Lad's channel. There was a BBC reporter who was so concerned about the excessive heat in Italy that he travelled to Rome to the Trevi Fountain. You know, he wasn't there for a jolly. He was there, you know, to report excessive heat across all of Europe. And he stood there and he says, yes, and just moments ago we recorded a temperature of 41 degrees. And he stood there, but he doesn't realise he stood in front of a pharmacist in Rome. And the temperature, because they have those, you know what the bloody chemists are like when you go in like Spain, Portugal, and Italy, and that they have these clocks. Well, like digital displays that show the time, and then they flip the temperature. And this twat's saying 41 degrees, and the temperature's readings appearing when he's talking at 32. So he's just completely and utterly blown his own bloody thing out of the water. Well, obviously, 41, you find, you're in the middle of the Trevi Fountain, you find a bloody steel, drain pack, like a dark steel drain pack that's been absorbing the heat all day. Yeah, you could fry an egg on the bastard. You know what I mean? But that's not the real fucking temperature. Do you know what I mean? But absolute disingenuous bastards.
The other thing that they do routinely is they go back to the temperatures from the 1930s and 1920s, other times, and they adjust them because they are not good temperatures, so they adjust them, and they always adjust them down. It's just a coincidence that every time they need change, they need lowered. It's a crock of shit. I want to address this comment from Linda Hunter. Linda said, I apologise on behalf of my state dictator Dan for the cancellation of the Commonwealth Games. Another cookie jar raid, no cookies for us. I was in Australia on the Gold Coast a couple of weeks before the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games in Australia, and I was ended up talking to homeless people because I'm weird like that, and they do tend to end up. And what they told me was, while the Commonwealth Games was going on the Gold Coast, all the homeless people were given $600 to fuck off somewhere else while the games were on, so that they could get the homeless people off the street to have the games.
Yeah, once again, yet another underhanded tactic to hide the real problem.
Yeah,
that this was another thing. I mean, you were in the chat on the Bonnie Lad stream. This is the other thing why all of the governments in the West now are just criminal organizations, because they don't serve the people, none whatsoever. And if it comes to a point where they literally can't paper over the cracks, so in other words, it's not just some on-message bullshit or whatever, then they'll reclassify things. And that's one of the worst things, that they'll do is so like I say, the Gold Coast hasn't got a homeless problem. Can you see any homeless here? No, actually, no. I don't know where they're getting all that. Well, no, because you give them $600 to fuck off. You know what I mean?
Oh,
unbelievable.
And I got banned from the Commonwealth Games Facebook page because I was telling all and sundry that it was going on, and they banned me.
But once again, like I say, on a completely different subject, but using exactly the same tactic, which is the one I always recount because it's the one that sticks in my mind, because it makes me chuckle. And then I realised, no, they just do this for everything. Like I say, I think it wasn't long after Phony Blair got in power, so it would be 98, not long after he repealed the law for still being hanged for treachery, because he knew his neck wasn't far from the fucking noose in the future, that bastard. And like I say, they did a massive hike once again because of my climate and we've signed up to 21, the Agenda 21 bullshit and all that. We need to start tackling pollution and blah 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 blah. This was even back then, and like I say, they ramped up road tax across the board, motorcycles, cars, vans, everything by a third. And so people said, because like I say, naturally, you do something that to people, then they start to notice things. They say, well, hold on a minute, I'm being expected to pay a third more in road tax, and yet, every fucking road I go down is littered with frigging potholes. So where's the money going? And that was the question: where's the money going? Because it's obviously not going on the roads. And so, like I say, what did the think tank do? Well, how many potholes have we got? And it was something like, it was like 750,000. It was some really high number. And they said, like, well, how much money will it cost to fix that? Oh, it's going to cost billions. Oh, right. Well, we don't really want to spend that money. But what we could do, is what's the definition of a pothole now? Well, something that's like 12 inches, in one direction. All right. Well, what happens if we made it 15 inches? That just brings it down to about 400,000. Shit. What happens if we make it 18 inches? Oh, hold on a minute. Yeah, less than 100,000. Right, well, we'll reclassify a pothole to be anything over 18 inches. And then, a couple of weeks later, Phony Blair's going out saying, oh, yeah, and the pothole problem, we've reduced potholes, by 600,000. And he'd done fuck all because they hadn't filled in a single fucking pothole. They'd just reclassified 600,000 of the fuckers. Utter cunts, absolute cunts, a lot of them.
Yeah, crazy. Now, I've got a bit of a funny one, or sad, depending on your point of view, from another bit of Belfast madness. TransLink statement after urine sprayed at glider inspector from a water pistol. This picture, these are our gliders. They're basically bendy buses. And what the fuckers did was they basically put bus lanes absolutely everywhere. 8 in the morning, 8 at night. These things have got their own right away. They're basically trams. And they have caused no end of traffic congestion. But TransLink's the company that runs the buses, has completely condemned an incident which saw a glider staff member soaked with urine. It comes as Belfast Live learned of the sick attack on glider CRPO. The staff member had urine sprayed at him from a water pistol during a shift. In response to the ordeal, TransLink spokesperson said, "We are aware of this incident and a number of months ago and completely condemn this unacceptable behaviour. The safety of our customer, staff and wider public is a top priority at all times." Earlier this month, Belfast Live revealed that there has been over 100 attacks on staff and gliders in Belfast since the service was introduced. Figures are obtained through a Freedom of Information request. TransLink says that since the glider service was started, there have been 104 attacks on staff. Of that number, 98 male staff members have been attacked and 6 female staff members. In the same time period from September 2018 to now, 26 glider staff members have taken leave of absences. Belfast Live found in the last 6 months, 20 attacks on glider staff have been reported to TransLink. TransLink statement continued, "We have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to anyone who engages in antisocial behaviour, and we have a wide range of measures in place to enhance safety, including CCTV systems on board our glider vehicles and at halts. And our staff use body-worn cameras. We also work closely with the police service of Northern Ireland, including neighbourhood policing teams and the PSNI Safe Transport team, to reduce and prevent acts of antisocial behaviour. Glider staff and management have a comprehensive engagement programme with young people in the city and are active participants in local safety forums. Our staff are trained and instructed to report serious incidents. One reason for this is to allow us to investigate fully, capture all footage and evidence available, and work with the PSNI and justice agencies to ensure that each incident is followed up robustly. There have been a number of successful prosecutions with other cases pending. We offer a range of support measures to the staff who have been impacted by such incidents and ensure they are fully supported in their recovery. We offer a reward of up to £1,000 for anyone prepared to give evidence in court, which leads to a conviction. No, that the comment was after going, but it seems like this was somebody going on checking tickets, and the response of the person to being asked to see their ticket was to squirt them with the fucking water pistol he had brought, filled with urine, and then make a run for it.
What was it? Was it just one person, or
It was just one person. It wasn't a gang of people with water pistols with piss in it. That would be fucking wrong. It was one person had went to Bitchute today armed with a water pistol filled with piss.
Yeah. So, well, that's just taking the piss, isn't it?
Well, technically, he was given the piss.
What's this DJ's put in the chat here? Let me have a look.
Right.
Have we got a link for that, DJ? Have we got a link for that quickly? If we're gonna.
Aye. 2 seconds.
I
came across this stream earlier on, and it was like I couldn't have clicked on it at a more perfect moment. I tried to clip it while it was live. You know that we featured on YouTube to clip, and it wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll just leave it for the night. This Irish cock. So,
right. Here we go. Add that to the stream.
Well, don't know how I'm following Pete, but I'll give it a go. As you may have noticed, I'm a local now, but originally I'm not. I'm an Irishman, and standing here, I'm standing as a call to action for Scotland to break free from the grip of Westminster rule and embrace the transformative power of independence. We are gathered here because we believe Scotland that thrives, a Scotland that's governed by the will of its people, and a Scotland that's free to determine its own destiny. As an Irishman, I'm standing here in my adoptive country. I can draw parallels between our struggle and the historic fight for independence. The Irish struggle has left us valuable lessons and inspiration, reminding us that the pursuit of independence is not only justifiable, but necessary for our nation's self-determination and prosperity. Both Scotland and Ireland have faced the challenge of asserting their unique identity and values while being governed by external forces. The Irish people fought tirelessly to break free from British rule, recognizing their distinct culture, language, and heritage deserve protection and promotion. Similarly, Scotland, with its rich history and diverse traditions, seeks to preserve its identity under the shadow of Westminster. The Irish experience teaches us that the road to independence is often arduous and requires unwavering dedication. It reminds us that our struggle is not an isolated but part of a broader history of nations seeking autonomy and liberation. The Irish people's determination, resilience, and unity inspire us to stand firm in our belief that independence is the path towards a brighter future for Scotland.
Well,
would you say that? Like, wow, fucking wow.
Right. First thing, he's not Irish. That's a Northern Ireland accent, probably Belfast, close to. Second thing, has nobody in Scotland told them the famine's over? Fuck off and go home. The third thing, he seems to have a disconnect with his history. He's talking about a language that was invented around about 1890. Coming up the 1900s, they invented that language that he's talking about from whole cloth. And if his view of independence is to lose government from Westminster and be encompassed by the European Union in the same way that Ireland is, that's not what independence looks like. That's not what self-determination looks like. That's what going into a collective looks like. And you've probably, if you scratch deep enough, you'll probably find that he's more interested in communism than he is in independence.
Yeah. Well said. Sanson?
Well, once again, first of all, you got to how would it be taken if a Scottish person was in Stormont and saying, "Oh yeah, I'm all here for Ireland, blah humbug, humbug, humbug," or in Wales in the Assembly in Cardiff. I mean, in Westminster, it's a different ball game completely, but people would say, "Yeah, how's about you do you and fuck off?" That's literally what they would say. But it's the same. Just exactly what 42's just said. It's the same narrative. That they keep on pushing. We want independence. We want this. We want that. What are you talking about as independence? So 100% self-autonomy. Yes. So you're not going to jump straight into bed with another multilateral global institution like the EU. Well, hold on a minute. We didn't say that. So then you don't want independence. Yes, we do. Well, then why would you want to join the EU? Because we need somebody to blame. Now we get to the crux of the matter. It's just, honestly, it's like cling film. You can see straight through it. Fuck them. You know what I mean? It's just, I've always maintained that if there is a true independence movement, in other words, a true independent, fully autonomous movement for Scotland, and that would mean banjoing out a lot of the undesirables that you've got in your country now, including the English. I'm not going to say anything like that. You know what I mean? But let's just say there are plenty of other countries not in Europe that you might want to get rid of first. But if there was a genuine movement in Scotland that was proper, like what the SNP was originally, which was a nationalist party, when it had a small membership and it was seen as a niche thing. The only reason why the SNP gained or garnered any kind of support was because they do push the globalist agenda. That is their narrative. The SNP wouldn't have taken over from Labour had their talking points not been 100% aligned with the globalist agenda. They would have still been this micro party, much as it is with the likes of Loza Fox and bloody Richard Traitor Tees and all them lot. You know what I mean? The SNP wouldn't have been a figment in a twinkle in somebody's little eye. But the fact that they are now all on board, and like I say, once again, we mentioned this, we touched on this briefly on Bonnie Led's channel. I see the worst possible outcome of both worlds, which is, a Labour stroke SNP coalition. That to me is chilling, because what will happen is the agreement, and it won't be Humza because he hasn't got two brain cells to rub together. So Humza's handlers will say, go to Dane Key and say, yeah, we'll do a coalition, but we want a new referendum vote. You'll get that, mate, and we'll make sure we rig it so you get independence. You jump straight into bed, and this is all coming from the 4D chess from Tony Blair. You jump straight into bed with the EU, which will welcome you with open arms, which wouldn't ordinarily happen because you haven't got the financial sort of requirements, as it were, but it would be one in the eye for the rest of the UK. And therefore, you get the like of an absolute traitor like Tony Blair, who should be swinging by his own petard, shall we say, who will then come in and say, well, it's an absolute nonsense. We can't have one part of the United Kingdom rejoining the EU without the entirety of the United Kingdom. Therefore, we should have another referendum, whether or not we go and lock, stock and barrel all rejoin back to the EU, which will be another rigged vote, like all of the other votes that have been rigged over the last sort of 5 years or whatever, or 4 years. And they'll, we'll end up back in the EU and then everything's lost. So, like I say, it'll be Scottish, Scotland will become independent. Like if it plays out that way, Lab SNP coalition, SNP get the vote they want. They say independence, join the EU. There's a load of rumbling saying, well, we can't have this, blah, 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 blah. Let's all rejoin back to the EU. That'll win. And then Scottish independence basically means that we're all back in the EU all together again anyway. What have you achieved? Fuck all. But you've given the globalists every single piece of control they've ever wanted again. Bastards.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that that's out of the realms of possibility, in all honesty. Just I found it interesting the way that guy spoke, because it just screamed out to me. I remember the way he was going on calls to action, etc. at the start. Yeah, but you can sit here all night and pick apart sentence by sentence what I showed there. But like even the nonsense about the Irish and Scottish unique identity, but yet at the same time as saying shit like this to appease whomever is listening, they contradict themselves with the very policies, practices, parties, and rhetoric that they support. How can you speak of, in the Scottish context, a Scottish identity while simultaneously embracing civic nationalism at best, internationalism at worst, or as Hamza Yusuf and co are putting it at present, an inclusive national identity, then what's unique about the Scottish identity? Secondly, as well, there's always this total nonsense about liberation, as that guy said, and people taking the ability to dictate their own future into their own hands, etc. Where does that happen anywhere in the world? Fucking nowhere, right? But Ireland is not exactly a shining example of somewhere where that is, in fact, a reality. I mean, there's a myriad of issues with Ireland at present. A lot of things that the Irish might not necessarily have wanted, but they're getting anyway, right? They got their independence, quote unquote, only to give that sovereignty and that independence away to join a union, the European superstate, and as a result, they seem to be at the behest of them. That's not independence, it goes without saying, admittedly preaching to a choir here. Right? But it's just remarkable to me how people can stand there consistently with a straight face and parrot this nonsense. Third thing I would say as well is it's like the total hypocrisy of these people, because so often you find that a lot of them, maybe not necessarily like politicians per se, right, but like a lot of these activist types, they shit on the English all the time. They don't want the English here. They don't want English people having a say in our elections, etc. But yet they have no issue with other foreigners coming here and having a say in our elections, provided they vote the right way. They have no issue with an Irish man standing on stage and talking about the future of Scotland, despite the fact he's not fucking Scottish, he's Irish. Like there's no consistency. And the lack of consistency does nothing other than highlight their absolute insincerity, in all honesty. Like I've said before as well on a fourth point, that I can't stop. Me with my little measly YouTube channel and Telegram channel, in the grand scheme of things, cannot stop the course, the trajectory that this country as well as the UK is on. I'm not retarded. Of course, I don't believe that to be remotely true whatsoever, right? But I've always said, like, if you're going to advocate for quote-unquote independence, right? Go for it, be my guest, but stop fucking calling it an independence movement. Call it for what it is. Call it for what it is. It's simply our European Union.
The
hideous thing about it is the fact that they've not only hijacked a legitimate desire that some have for independence, they've also hijacked our fucking flag as well. Like, the saltire in Scotland is now associated with these dickheads and their absolute obsession with the European Union. To the point, it's like every time you see a saltire flying high and proud in somebody's back garden or whatever, you automatically now assume they must be SNP, because this is what they've done. We have a group of people, puppets admittedly, right, who are simply carrying out the orders of people above, who are on record on saying that if in the event of obtaining quote unquote independence, they would simply rejoin the European Union. That's their desire. They would implement every single policy that the European Union intend to implement for 2030, such as climate change, etc., etc. So this is a party who also are on record of wanting to have an inclusive national identity, right? A party that are implementing multiple policies that fly in the face of anybody that insists they're nationalists, right? They want to eradicate the national identity of Scotland, right? But yet they're associated with the St. Andrews saltire. They're associated with Scotland. And that's what I find the most egregious about it, in all honesty. It's my 2 cents in it, really. You know, there is no legitimate independence movement in Scotland anymore. That died a death a long, long, long time ago. And, you know, what's risen out of the ashes of that dead movement is a bunch of dickheads who wave saltires and tranny flags. You know, who it's just remarkable to me how they can stand there with a straight face and say this shit on a daily basis: independence, sovereignty, my sovereignty, the sovereign Scots, etc. Define a Scot, dickhead. They can, because as far as they're concerned, anybody can be Scottish as long as they're not fucking English. Fuck them, fuck the SNP, and fuck your gay little nationalist movement. That's my 2 cents in it.
I'll go one further than you and say that not only I think that he has Irish nationalist IRA connections, I think if you were to find out who he was and dig in, you would probably find the reason why he's in Scotland has got something to do with his mates in the movement, as it were, decided they didn't want him anywhere about them and told him to fuck off before we shoot you.
Probably.
But no, that like Scotland. Scotland's currently home to what the fuck do you call him? UDA man, bald head, from a Shankill Road. Can't remember. Anyway, he was leading UDA player in the Shankill Road and got told to fuck off, and he went to Scotland. You'll probably find that this guy is something similar if you dig down enough. He talks part fashion the way those Irish nationalists do. Yes, Johnny there. That's the person. The Mad Dog. He's living in Scotland because he was told to fuck off. I wouldn't be surprised if the guy that rocked up at that was saying it's his adopted home and whatnot. I think he was probably told to go to that adopted home or somewhere that wasn't where he was, and that's where he went to. And now he's agitating to fuck up your country the way that my country's fucked up. So there's that. The other thing I would say that the legitimate links between the Scottish people and the Irish people happened many thousands of years before the Celts set foot in anywhere about the place. That's where your shared culture is. That's where there are language similarities because they did interact. It's only 12 miles from Ulster to Scotland. It's narrowest points. He's plucking a load of points that are misconstrued through to blatant lies and has no interest in a proper, strong, independent Scotland.
Do you know what though? Like, even if he did, it's like, as far as I'm concerned, it's got fuck all to do with him. You know, I just find it ridiculous. Like, the amount of like, as I said, like there's so many of these S&P types, and it's not limited to them, but they have a major issue with English people living in Scotland, right? And they think that English people move to Scotland and they all vote for the Tories or they're all unionists, right? But they have absolutely no issue with foreigners voting in our elections or standing for election. Like Lorna Slater, who's a Green MSP, right? The one that's like dictated a lot of the discourse for Green policy in the Scottish Parliament. She's fucking Canadian. We've got Maggie Chapman, another insane Green, right? She's from Zimbabwe, okay? We've got this like Indian guy or whatever the fuck from what's his name, Fazal Chowdhury, right? From like some random part of the world near India. I don't fucking know. He moved here as a wee boy, as a refugee with his family. Now he's standing in our parliament advocating for easier routes for migrants and refugees to get here. You know, there's a few others. Like the list is quite short, but it's getting larger. Well, of course, we've got the likes of Hamza Yusuf, who's got a claim to this land purely on the basis that he was born here. But I fail to believe for a split second that somebody like Hamza Yusuf or any other of his ilk give one iota of a shit about the future of Scotland, nor Scottish history, because quite frankly, they ain't fucking Scottish. That, sadly, has become an extreme point of view to hold this day and age, and it just shows the state of affairs. But quite frankly, I would have no business going to China or having children in China and expect my children to have a say in said Chinese occupation. So the same should be applicable here. You're a foreigner, you should have no fucking say. I'm not saying you have to bugger off home, but I'm just saying keep your nose out of her business. But on top of that, just on a side note, this goes back down to something I've said so many times before. I used to kind of keep quiet on the issue of a political solution and whatnot. But quite frankly, from my standpoint, I think the idea of a political solution is dead and fucking gone. So that's another thing that annoys me about not just him, but every other person who came on before him and after him on that stage, right? To yammer on about liberation and dictating our future, etc. What fucking planet are they on? How delusional are they? Even if Scotland obtained its independence, do they genuinely believe that then everything in Scotland is going to be hunky-dory? Look around the world. Where does that happen? There's not one country in the world that I can think of, right, where the politicians do exactly what they were voted in for. So what a shit.
And there we have our DJ rant.
100%.
I'm going to have to bail, boys, because...
All right, mate, you get yourself off, mate. And we're, like I say, I think it's probably come to a natural conclusion anyway. But yeah, that was a brilliant one, mate. 100%. You should clip that and stick it up on your channel. But
I might very well do that. That said, it's sort of dangerous territory with some of the things I've said in the last 10 minutes.
No,
stuff
but it's
I've
true,
just
though.
said there
It's
got me
true.
banned off fucking Bitchute, right? Like
Look, I'll tell you something, right? I'll tell you something now, right? You tell me, before you go, mate, you tell me any other country outside of the West where, you know, a Westerner, for instance, could rock up and just say, oh, yeah, I'm going to take over your part. I'm going to be the head of your country. You're doing it all wrong. We need to get more people in from X, Y, Z. If you ended up in prison, you'd be lucky. You know, that is the default setting on every single country in the world outside of the corrupted West. And we all know who corrupts them. But anyway, DJ, cheers for coming on. And thank you, Mrs. DJ, for letting him come on.
And on that note, boys, I will bid you farewell. And I'll catch you tomorrow night with Clive, Scots Armour. And we've got 2 guests on to talk about the state of Scottish education. So, on that note,
DJ, thank you very much for coming on, giving up your time, and as Samson said, thanks to your missus for putting up the hard leather. And
that's spot on, boys. Till next time, all right.
All right, all the best, John.
Have a good one, mate. All the best. And then there were 2.
And then there were 2. Right, we're coming up on 3 hours.
Yeah, mate, I'm happy to call it a day, mate. I think it's been a good stream. I'm glad DJ come on there and
so am I.
A bit of fire at the end there. Bit of, like I say, if you just clip that bit, that was you know, those are the kind of speeches that should literally be blasted out day and night across the realm of Scotland, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm not being ironic there. I'm genuinely serious. You get somebody with the passion and the reality to say those things. I'm telling you now, 90% of true Scots, as in not the paper Scots, would be out. They literally would be doing an NHS, banging on pans and everything. But he won't have a voice because the regime doesn't want it, does it? But anyway, there you go.
This is true. And Samson, always a pleasure streaming with you. Thank you very much. And we'll do it again next month.
Yes, mate, no bother. Look forward to it.
I'm going to get some music on. This is a song by Justice Kane. I think I will actually whack the link for this into the chat. If any of you want some music that's that's actually quite based and stuff, although this song isn't political, it's about aliens and crap, but this guy's quite good. So here we go. Bit of music coming, and I will, as always, put your comments up on the screen. Here we go. Oh, get that to theater mode.
They say that seeing is believing. What else can you do? And if my eyes don't deceive me, then the truth I'm telling you, it was a warm summer's evening in the month of June. We were out in the backyard messing around, playing some old tune. Up in the moonlit sky, something out of the ordinary caught his eye. It was so profound, made no sound. It wasn't a flying saucer, it wasn't an aeroplane, it was a big white tribe. It was a very close encounter, first of its kind. Unidentified flying object messing with my mind. Glided across the rooftops, as quiet as a cloud, like something out of a sci-fi movie. Truth I finally been allowed. I just happened to be in the right place, fortunately at the right time. You should have seen the look of shock on Chris's face, sheer delight of mine. Big white triangle, big white triangle. We are not alone, no, we are not alone. It was a big white triangle over Chris's heart that night.
You see what I'm seeing?
Are you seeing what I see? Wasn't a flying saucer, no sir. Wasn't a little plane. I just happened to be in the right place. I'll never feel the same again. Big white triangle, big white triangle, big white triangle, a big white triangle. We are not alone. You see what I see? No, we are not alone. It was a big white triangle over Chris's heart that night. Wasn't a flying saucer, no sir. Wasn't an aeroplane, a meteor or a satellite. Yeah, maybe I might be insane. Big white triangle, big white triangle, big white triangle.
Okay, everybody, Sansom was Sansom, DJ was DJ. I've been 42, and as always, you lot in the chat have been fucking amazing. Thank you all. Good night. God bless, and see you all next week. I'm out of here. Gone. Bye.